I drank too much. Yes, I
Yeah.
partied too much. Yes, I probably blew every single dollar I ever earned, ever, until the age of 28 on travel and dumb shit. But I don't regret those things.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Have You Eaten? My name is Shashank, and this is my sister Jyothsna.
Hello?
So we've created this podcast to talk about our experience growing up as immigrants in Australia. And very special episode today because one of us has had a major birthday.
21! So excited. No, 30, the big 30.
Yeah, exactly, the big 3-0. And you've lived quite an interesting life. Always, I guess, taking the path less trodden.
Thank you.
And
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. I'm so glad I have it on record.
so we've always had conversations about your life, and I take a lot of life lessons out of that. And that's why I wanted to, I guess, do this almost interview style episode with you today. Really go through growing up, your 20s, and then looking forward into your 30s. But I think for the viewers, they'd love to get some context about this life path. And if you could talk about that.
So I finished school in 2013, and having grown up in Sydney, having lived in Sydney all our lives, I kind of hadn't seen too much of the world. And I really had this drive and desire to be independent and to explore and have this freedom to kind of create my own life for a bit. And no one had done that. No one in our community had moved out back then. You know, this was 10, 11 years ago. And it was a real leap of faith from our parents, but also a faith in myself to take that step. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. So I moved from Sydney to Melbourne to go to university here at Monash. Studied there for 3 years. I did exchange, went to Barcelona for 6 months and studied there for a bit. Absolutely fell in love with Europe, made so many friends, and then decided to travel back there in 2017 for 6 weeks, just backpacking around Europe. And then kind of had this wild idea about why not live overseas? Why can't I live overseas and try something new? Once again, no one had really done that either back then. This was in 2017, 2018. None of my friends had moved out of the country, let alone move interstate or move for university. A lot of my friends that I'd come to know growing up or new friends from uni all lived at home. So I don't know why it came over me that I just had to do it. It was an idea I had and I had to do it. So like a lot of other Aussies, I jumped on the work visa and moved over to London for 2 years and absolutely had a blast. And there was just so much growth, so much fun, so much adventure and excitement and struggle, right? Like there were moments where I was like hours away from being homeless and too proud to ask for help from our parents. There were moments where I was, you know, somebody in somebody's apartment, don't know their name, don't know where I am, like just having the time of my life, and would have never done those things if I had stayed at home, I feel. So I'm glad I did it. And then eventually it was time to grow up and come back home. So in the last couple of years, I've moved back to Melbourne and yeah, settled down a little bit and slowed down in life a little bit. So that was my 20s.
hmm Very interesting. You didn't live in Clapham, did you? That was
Oh,
the
well, close enough. I really wanted the adventure of living outside of Australia, so I moved to Battersea, which is next to Clapham. No, I didn't. I didn't live anywhere there.
Yeah, I think like for the viewers, for me, seeing that kind of journey that you went on has broken the mold in terms of making career and location decisions for me. But I'll get into all of that. But let's first talk about how does it actually feel now? You talked about settling down and being 30. How does that feel? How did you celebrate your 30th? From what I heard, it was a birthday month, not a birthday.
It was a birthday month. I'm a Leo. We had a birthday month. No, so there was a big, well, there was a small intimate dinner in Sydney. There was a bit of a party with the cousins. There was a trip to Fiji with the family. There was a surprise weekend away down the coast. There's been a couple of dinners and drinks with friends. So rather than having one big celebration, I have very strategically and methodically planned the month to have multiple celebrations with lots of different people because why have one big party when you can have 10 small ones? So it's been an amazing month. I don't feel any different. I still feel 21. um, but it's nice to have a slightly slower pace in life. The one thing I have to say though is the drinking is really slowing down. I cannot drink like I used to, and it's probably for the best. But that's definitely on.
Boring.
I know, nerd, but it is. It's what happens. You've got a couple of years
Yeah,
left. Watch your back. Watch your back. It's coming for you.
I'm gonna enjoy them for sure.
You don't need any encouragement. You're doing that
Yeah.
well.
And if the viewers thought I was joking, it's September 2nd, and she finished celebrating on August 30th. So literally the whole month.
The entire month. I actually have one more dinner with a friend this Friday, but
Oh,
then I'm
so it's not even
done. Oh.
that. Um, let's jump into it. I don't know if you've ever been interviewed before.
I have
I'm going
not.
to say interviewed, but I think I have a lot of questions for you, and I've taken the time to write them down and really, you know, I because these are some of the decisions the decisions you took earlier are kind of some of the decisions I'm facing now, obviously in a very different context. But I guess from someone who's taken quite an unconventional route of moving away from home, especially during that time, like you mentioned. What really inspired you to kind of like take that leap? And then what are the biggest takeaways from that experience?
The thing that inspired me was, and I think very early on, I had this realization that I only get one life. It's not a trial run. It's not I'll do it next time, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it in the next lifetime, like kind of situation here. This is a one time offer, and I am going to make the most of it. And I've always had this sense of adventure and independence in me. And I think with the support of, I guess, our household as well, right? That was the only reason it was possible. I know that our parents had a lot of pushback from the community because they were letting their daughter move out of home. Oh my God, what is she going to do with all that freedom? I know they got that and they shielded me from that, and really pushed me to do life my way. But the thing
Mhm.
is, I realized, and I've only realized this recently, having gone back to therapy and reflected a lot, is I always lived life like I was on borrowed time. Yes, I was having fun, and yes, I was, living my life on my own terms, but it was always with the caveat of, oh, just one more year, or just this 6 months in Barcelona. I'm going to have the best time ever, and then I'll come back and settle down and be good. Okay, well, I just got this taste for travel now. Okay, I'll do it for another 2 years. I'll go to London, I'll live my best life. I'll come back and then I'll settle. Okay, well, that was really fun, but I haven't really explored Melbourne. I haven't explored Australia. So I'll just do another one more summer of having a lot of fun and then I'll settle down. And I was like, why am I behaving like I am loaning my life from a loan shark? Like, I'm not. I own this life. This is mine to do whatever the bloody hell I want with it. And that kind of perspective has really, really empowered me and inspired me to live life completely on my own terms, completely unapologetically, loudly, and have a birthday month if I really want to. Why not? I've got
Yep.
lots of people that love me and I love them back. And if I want to celebrate 10 different times, I'll do that, And if I want to go
Mhm.
travel at 30, at 35, at 40 by myself with my girlfriends, I'll do that. If I want to fly business, I'll do that. If I want to have a bougie villa, I'll do that. If I want to backpack around Italy again, I will do that. Like, there is nothing to stop you because you only get this one chance to do it well. And if I reflect on everything I've done in my 20s, there is I have more regret of the things that I didn't do than the things I did do too much of. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yes, I drank too much. Yes, I
Yeah.
partied too much. Yes, I probably blew every single dollar I ever earned ever until the age of 28 on travel and dumb shit. But I don't regret those things. I regret not
Yeah.
going to that city, not staying an extra 2 days, not taking that chance, not jumping off that bridge, like whatever kind of
Yeah.
crazy adventure came my way and I, for some reason, decided not to do, those are the ones that keep me up at night, even today.
So would you say like the biggest takeaway is kind of living on your own like path, own journey? Like don't
Yes,
like block
yes,
out the external noise kind of thing.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to comment on your life no matter what you do. You could be out there doing heart surgery on orphan kids, and people will still have an opinion of your life. Like, oh, she's doing great, but she never married. Poor thing.
Mm.
You know?
Yep.
Or you could be married and have 3 children and live in this white picket fence and go, she never really focused on her career. She only focused on a family life. Like, that defines her now. And someone will always have an opinion on what you do. So my biggest takeaway is to live unapologetically and authentically for yourself. And if that
Yep.
is who you are today and maybe not who you are tomorrow, that's fine. That's what your 20s are for. Is for having fun, is for exploring, is for making mistakes, doing dumb shit and learning from that. And eventually when you're ready on your own timeline, take the next step, open the next chapter of that book. But until you're ready, don't rush it, don't push it because you will never get that time back. Obviously, somebody offers you meth, probably don't do that. But
Yeah.
within reason.
Yeah. And I think that's especially true for immigrant kids because you're kind of
Yes,
taught a certain way, brought up a certain way. So live life on your own terms, for sure.
absolutely. And I always reflect on this immigrant motto of for a better life. Why'd you come here? For a better
Hmm.
life. Okay, and what does that better life mean? Does that mean to struggle and hustle and work 12 hours a day and not take any sick leave and not, travel when you retire at 40? Who knows? You might get hit by a bus tomorrow. Like, you
Yeah.
are probably going to be so caught up in your own bullshit that you will forget to take that vacation at 40. You will forget to retire at 40 because if you're working that hard, you're going to be a CEO or you're going to be in some high position and have another opportunity, another opportunity, another opportunity, which is great if that's how you want to live your life and that's what gives you meaning. Fine. But
Yeah.
as immigrant children, there's this burden to kind of prove yourself and make something of yourself really early on in life. And that's not necessarily the only way to do life. If that makes you happy,
Yeah.
sure. But it's not
Hmm.
it's not a one size fits all approach here.
Yeah. And you did live life on your own terms. And I think that's given you a lot in your 20s. But I'm sure it wasn't all, roses and fairies and la la land. There
No.
was, I'm sure, like being a family member, obviously we've heard some of it. But I guess what was the biggest thing in your 20s, like the biggest challenge that you faced, overcame, and like how did it shape you today?
I mean, I have so many travel stories and life stories of when I was almost like how I almost died. Like, it's just I could write an entire book of like just a collection of random stories like that. But and it was pure dumb luck that I'm still here today. So there's been a lot of learning. I think I teased this early on, but like the whole almost being homeless in London is a real story. I went to London without a single contact in London. I didn't know anybody in London, right? My dad might have had a university friend that, kind of took me in for 2 days when I first landed or some random story like that, but they didn't have my back, and like, why would they? I don't even know them, right? So what happened was I'm in London, and to get a house, I need to have a bank account. But to have a bank account, I need an address. But to have an address, I need a, um, you know, national insurance number. To have a national insurance number, I need an address. Like, everything was connected. And I'm like, how
Mhm.
do I break through this chain to set up my life here? And not having that support system and being completely on your own, there was a moment there where me and my friend Elsa were hours away from being homeless because our temporary accommodation was coming to an end, and our new accommodation were like not confirming our accommodation because we didn't have any guarantors, because we hadn't had our jobs long enough and we didn't earn enough, or we didn't have the pay slips to show that we could afford rent for a long term amount of time.
Mhm.
So I remember having this like $1,000 Combank credit card, and I was literally paying for the tube, paying for food on that credit card. That's how poor I was. There was like 48% interest rate or something crazy like that, and I was too proud to ask our parents for help, and I was like, "No, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm getting paid in 3 days. I'm going to have this house in the next 4 hours." Like, when I'm saying that hours away, I mean 8 to 12 hours away from being completely homeless.
Mhm.
And all my belongings packed in one medium-sized suitcase in a backpack. And as stressful and really, really, like, really stressful as that situation was, anytime I go through anything now, I think, "You're almost about to be homeless on the other side of the country. You can do this. You can sort
Mhm.
this problem out," you know? And it's just given me this fuel that I can do anything. I backpacked around Italy when I was studying in Barcelona for 11 days without a phone, because the night before I left to Italy, I dropped my phone down the stairs and it was shattered into pieces. And I basically ran to the library or something. I printed all my boarding passes and confirmations out from my email, and then basically said, "All right, well, this is all I've got." And I backpacked around Italy for 11 days by myself without a phone, using a literal like tourist center map, like guiding myself through Italy.
I
Not
haven't
just
even
one part
seen
in
one of
Italy.
those.
Huh?
I haven't even seen one of those.
Well,
Tourist cinema.
back in my day, they used to have these maps. Um, anyway, and that's how I did it. I don't know how I did it. I would never do it again. I would literally not board that flight. But at the time, I
Mhm.
was like, what are my options here? And when I
Yeah.
went to Barcelona, this is not a joke. When I went to Barcelona, I thought I was going to Brazil. That's how little information and knowledge I had of the other side of the world outside of Asia Pacific, that I was convinced I was going to Brazil until about 3 weeks before I left. I was like, "Hold on a minute. That's not what? That's not where am I going?" And then I was like, "Oh, Barcelona. I'm gonna learn Spanish in Barcelona." They speak Catalan in Barcelona. They don't speak Spanish in Barcelona. Didn't know a single person, didn't know the language, didn't even have a mobile adapter to charge my phone because it didn't even occur to me that the plug would be different in the other country. So I landed in Barcelona, I went to the hostel, and then I jumped on a train looking for a phone charger with a dead phone on the other side of the world with €5 in my wallet and nothing else. And this poor fruit vendor gave me his charger. He literally just handed it over. He's like, "All the best, sweetie." And he put some like mandarins and like bananas in my bag for free. And he was like, "You seem devastated. Like, you go sort your life out." And this poor abuela jumped out of the bus and like held my hand. I couldn't communicate. I was like, I was lost. My phone was dead. I don't know which station I came from. And I was like, going back to university. And she was like, "Oh, come on." And then she like got off her bus early to take me to the right station. Those are just examples of stories, and I have hundreds of them from from my travels, but they have shaped who I've become today. 100%.
Mhm.
And they're
Yeah.
funny now, but in the moment, trust me, I was a mess.
Yeah. And you were what, 21 when you went?
21, baby,
Yeah.
21, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it ties me into my next question quite well. But I want you to, being 30, picture that 21-year-old Jyothsna is sitting right next to you. You get to say one singular sentence to her. You get to say one piece of advice. What would it be?
I would say, sweetie, you're doing it right. There's going to be ups and downs, but it's going to all work out.
Hmm.
That would be my one sentence.
And perfect.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like I
And
did my 20s really, really well, and not
mhm,
many 20-year-olds can say that, which is why I think, and I've spoken to you about this, I've spoken to our cousins about this, anyone basically that will listen, I'm like, guys, do your 20s more recklessly and more wild and more unhinged and more irresponsibly. Like, do it differently. There's more ways than one because
yeah.
truly, I think, and I'm not saying my way is the best way, I'm just saying do it in a way that works for you and not to
Hmm.
satisfy a society, your parents, or some kind of ideology that you have of who you should be by 30, because it absolutely
Yeah.
means nothing.
Yeah. And I guess with that, your kind of financial journey, I would say, from my knowledge, started much later into your 20s than what an immigrant parent or society, immigrant society would deem as appropriate. You bought your first house a year ago?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was your first proper investment experience, I would say.
That was my first proper living situation, Shashank. I've been on the move,
Mhm.
moving every 2 years, living out of a couple of boxes. Like, I have
Yeah.
never owned furniture in my life. This is the
Hmm.
first time I've owned furniture other than a mattress in my entire life
Yeah.
at 29. And I am not sorry about that. And I would do it again a million times over exactly how I've done it. This is my first proper living situation. I have never owned furniture other than a mattress in my entire life. This is the first time I've owned proper furniture to call mine ever.
Hmm.
And I'm not apologetic about that. Like, I think that is how I wanted to live my life. And I'm happy about that. I don't really care. I think now being financially independent. I mean, I've always been financially independent, right? Of course, I've
Hmm.
asked for help when I needed it, but for the majority of my 20s, I've been, working since I was really in my teens. So I've never considered that. I think it is different to how a lot of other people in our community, immigrant community, do it because they still have that survival mindset that we talked about in our last episode. But honestly, for me, I think it's preposterous to expect a 20-something-year-old to have a mortgage. Like, that is not the priority in life. I know that that gives stability and that gives um, all these kind of comforts and securities that we look for as immigrants, but it hasn't served me in any way. I don't
Yeah.
feel behind in life. If I've started now at 29 and bought my first property and work really, really hard and continue to save, and if that's what I want to do with my life, in 5 years' time, I could buy another property. And then maybe I invest
Yeah.
really smartly in between and I could buy another one and another one. If that is my financial goal, at 40, I might have 5 houses. And if I started at 25, I might have had 10. But ultimately,
Hmm.
where I've ended up, I'm very, very happy with because at 40, I could own 10 houses rather than five, but I can't go back and backpack around Italy
Yeah.
without a phone. I can't go back and do exchange,
Hmm.
right? I can't do those things. I can buy those houses now in five
Yeah.
years' time, in 10 years' time, wherever.
Yeah. And that's a really interesting point because obviously you moved out, I didn't. So some of those immigrant mindsets are still very much pervasive in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Um, and I think as a early 20 somethings, that's one of the biggest anxieties I have in terms of the future. So my biggest source of anxiety is the future.
Yeah.
How did you like deal with that? Like, okay, like it's fine. I'm not behind in life and I don't have to worry about every single decision I'm going to take moving forward.
Yeah.
Did you
I
face those anxieties? And if, how did you process them?
Yeah, I mean, I guess financial stability is your anxiety, My anxiety is my romantic relationships, and it's something that I really struggle with. It's still um, on my mind today. It's not something that I've overcome, and it's not necessarily
Hmm.
because I am defining my happiness by finding a partner, but I think it's the external pressures that I face from parents, from aunties and uncles, and the community. That it doesn't matter what I do. At least is how I interpret it. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter that I've lived a fulfilled life. It doesn't matter that I have happiness and contentment in my life at the moment. It's that I haven't found somebody that loves me, or that
Hmm.
hasn't found somebody that has committed to me, makes me incomplete, right?
Hmm.
And I still feel this pressure of my value comes from being with someone, being with a partner
Hmm.
on my own, whether I have 10 houses, whether I've traveled to over 50 countries, whether I solve world peace, like doesn't matter what I do if I because I don't have a partner, my life is still incomplete, which is not how I feel. But
Yeah.
it was my birthday month, right? There was all these parties, dinner parties, and the question that keeps coming up is, "So, when are you gonna get married?"
Hmm.
And it's like, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball that tells me when it's gonna happen. I'm not deflecting it. I'm not saying even this like it's not that this perfect man is standing in front of me and I'm going, "No, no, no, go away. I don't wanna get married." I just haven't found that connection. And I am not willing to settle for a mediocre connection just to satisfy these influences in my life. It's just not going to
Hmm.
happen. It's not how I define a marriage. It might be how our community defines marriage to say, it's like buying a house. It's like buying insurance. Like it's just something that you have to do in life. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's something that you have to do in life. It's something you can do if you want and you find the right person to partner with. Because why
Yeah.
would I give up this amazing existence that I have worked so hard to build for a mediocre connection with a man that brings me down or kind of holds me back, right? If I find
Hmm.
someone that's going to has the same values and wants to build a life with me, for sure, I'll get married when that happens, if that happens. But if that's not going to
Yeah.
happen for me, I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
Hmm. So I think it's like the source of anxiety could be different.
Yeah,
Like for you, it's romantic. For me, it's
yeah,
financial, whatever it is.
yeah.
But I think the lesson that we're extracting is just do what feels right in your 20s. And
Yeah, you've got it. Like, I mean, those voices aren't going to go away, right? Those
yeah.
anxieties aren't going to necessarily go away. But you've got to acknowledge which ones actually have meaning and which ones actually
Hmm.
serve you and which ones are just noise, and you've got to get rid of it. And for
Yeah.
that, like we need to go to therapy. We need to work on ourselves. We need to reflect. We need to understand ourselves deep enough to be able to go, do I really want to get married? Or is this something that I feel pressure externally to do and I actually don't want to do that myself? Right?
Yeah.
Because if I didn't have that
Mhm.
surety, if I didn't have that sense of self worth, then the anxiety that I'm facing today would be much more crippling. And I would
Yeah.
probably be furiously dating, or I would settle for somebody that isn't compatible with me.
Or you'd buy that house that you didn't want to buy and then plunge yourself into a mortgage and not
Yeah,
travel and then,
yeah, you would
it's
sacrifice
domino effects.
100%. You'd sacrifice some of the things that you can only do in your 20s to buy that house because that's what your society, your
Yeah.
community, people around you are telling you to do.
I think that's true. And I've felt that a lot from our conversations as well. It's kind of letting go of the noise. I think we discussed this earlier. But I feel like the one thing that I've learned from you is to take the path that I think is right for me and kind of not worry about is it the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So moving from is it right to is it right for me? And I guess what I wanted to know is from these decisions that you've made, or non-decisions, both, is does that mean your, I guess, definition of what success as an immigrant kid growing up has now changed?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think growing up, success felt like fulfilling this. Um, Let me put it this way. I feel like growing up, I was given a template of life, and at every milestone, there were certain boxes to tick. And as I ticked those boxes, I progressed to the next level and the next level and the next level. And that template for a successful life kind of copy pasted and handed out to every single immigrant kid, right? And I just kind of took that template and then scrunched it up and went, right? But it lingered in the back of my head always. So having gone through life, it always felt I didn't feel like I was just having fun and being in my 20s. I constantly felt like I was being a rebel. I constantly was felt like I was pushing the boundary and pushing the envelope and and challenging these norms, which I was doing, but I just didn't freely and openly and wholeheartedly just live out my 20s carefree. I didn't, that's not how it, I know it sounds like that's what I did. It's not how I did it. There was a constant internal battle that needed to happen every single time I made a decision to do something or to not do something.
Yeah.
So I think the definition of success for me now is to to be happy, to enjoy life is the definition. Whether that means I, build my financial wealth because that's what makes me happy, whether that means I contribute back to my community, whether that means I find a fulfilling romantic relationship, whether that means I have beautiful, wonderful friends around the world, or it's a combination of those things to different
Hmm.
extents and at different hierarchies, right? Priorities. That's for me to decide and only me to decide. And
Yeah.
having given myself permission to do that and to ignore some of the other conflicting perceptions and opinions that have come my way has been so liberating and empowering. And I feel like a successful individual because
Yeah.
I'm happy and I'm doing things my way. And if I wasn't happy or if things aren't going my way, I have nobody else to blame but myself. And I also have nobody else to hold accountable but myself to change.
Yep. And that's the most important thing. I think there's an exercise that we've talked about doing um, for me, which is just writing down what are my sources of happiness and what are my priorities, and structuring my 20s in that way.
Yeah.
So,
It's really inspiring
yeah.
to see you going through this experience early on. And I don't know if that's because you're a younger sibling and you have a template of how to maybe do things a little bit differently. Um, or whether that's just you as a person or a combination of those things. But it has been really inspiring to see you do life differently. I think you're still quite a sensitive person, like you're still a homebody, and you've been. Do you know what I mean? Like you're a different person fundamentally to myself, but I appreciate you being able to see the value in the way I've done my life, and for you to then do it differently to me. And sometimes we don't agree on things. That's completely fine, but you can appreciate objectively the path that I've chosen and also own the path that you're about to choose.
Yeah. And I'm not, I think that's the big, like you brought that up fantastically. I'm not trying to emulate your life.
No,
Like, I am not trying to live the 20s that you lived, but I'm trying to extrapolate the lessons
yeah.
that I can take to make the decisions that I need to make in my 20s.
Yeah, it completely defeats the purpose if you are going to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this going, oh, maybe I should travel, maybe I should. Yeah, maybe you should. But maybe first you should sit down and do that exercise that I told you about, which is think about the last 6 months of your life and write down all the moments that have truly made you feel happy. And that might be, and we had this experience recently. It was us and our cousin, and we're just sitting in the car, we're driving back, long drive, it's raining, like it's sunset time, it was dusk, and we're just playing these like old 90s Bollywood music. Like it was such a small moment, but I was truly happy in that moment, right? So if I
Mhm.
was doing this exercise, I would write that down. And I would then, if you wanted to, take it a step deeper and write down the themes of that moment that made me happy. Theme was family. Theme was relaxed. Theme was, you know what I mean? And then you can take that and build almost like a word cloud or a mind map of the key things that make you happy as a person. And when you forget, when you're in a bad moment in life, you go back to that and you say, okay, family makes me really happy. I haven't seen my family. I haven't spent quality time with the people that I love in a really long time. Easy
Yeah.
solution. I'm going to go do that. And then if I'm sitting here going into my 30s and wondering, oh my God, what am I going to do? What is my life going to look like? I go back to that list and I say, okay, family makes me happy, community makes me really happy, travel makes me really happy, stability makes me really happy. You know what I mean? And then I go, okay, so how do I bring all of that into the next decade of my life? And it just
Yeah.
makes it so much easier to come up with a roadmap.
Yeah. And just program your 20s the way you want. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So let's wrap this up with a rapid fire. So I
Okay,
have two questions for you,
okay, I'll answer them fast.
and answer them top of your head, whatever comes to you.
Okay, let's go.
What's the what's the biggest thing you're leaving behind in your 20s?
People pleasing and connections that don't serve me anymore.
Hmm.
I don't want to be bumped.
And
Oh.
yeah, no.
You're right, rapid fire. You go, next question.
And then what is the biggest self-growth focus for you for your 30s?
I I'm going to be really, really vulnerable here. I want to change my perception of money. I think I have a
Hmm.
very reckless, negligent attitude towards money. And as much as it doesn't bring me joy or value, I think I need to reframe that and be a little bit more responsible and long term focused, which is something I have to practice because I didn't in my 20s. Um, yeah, that's the one that came to top of mind, but I'm sure there's a dozen more.
We hope, I guess, like everyone watching as well, if the biggest takeaway that I got, and I think the viewers are going to get from this as well, is just live your damn life.
Yes.
Like, just do what you need to do. Stop listening. Well, don't stop listening, but listen within reason. Stop listening and
Yeah.
just be you.
Be you. Well, thank you for interviewing me. Often my advice is unsolicited, so it's nice to be able to give solicited advice for a change. And yeah, if you're listening to this and you've got questions and I can offer some, advice as an older sister back, happy to. I've got plenty of stories to share. Ones I probably shouldn't share publicly. So slide into my DMs and I'll share them with you privately about love, money, travel, adventure, whatever you need to know about. So, thank you so much for listening, everyone. And we love all your support and feedback. We're here for it, we're listening. So, keep them coming, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.